This is the Under Segovia Show.
Hey everyone, it's Andres, and I'm coming at you with my review of the Brax3, the most privacy-friendly smartphone. Before I get ahead of myself, I do like this transparent back. Unfortunately, it's very glossy and it reflects a lot, so for the sake of recording, I'm going to put the privacy cover I got with my bundle on the phone. This is something that's sold separately for those of you that are going to be looking into purchasing a Brax3 device. All right, now let me give you some background about the phone for those of you that are not familiar with this particular product. So when this was introduced, it was launched as an Indiegogo campaign in fall of 2024 by Rob Braxman and crew. The campaign was a great success, and because of the certain economic factors, the price of the phone, which was originally launched at $299, the regular price now is $379, though you might find it on special for $339 depending on when you are purchasing this device. Now that still is a fantastic price for what you're getting here, but also I want you to keep in mind, you get what you pay for. Now let's find out what that price point does get you. I am aware of certain hardware problems that people have faced with their Brax3 device. I have not had those encounters, and there's certain software problems that people have reported on that I have not experienced myself either. So I will not be touching on those. For that, I will refer you to the support forums, links of which I'll be leaving in the video description or the show notes, depending on where you're watching or listening to this review. As for myself, I will only be speaking of my experience using this device for the past 3 weeks on and off on Mint Mobile. So here are the specifications of the device. Some people, if you're a spec head, might not like the processor and maybe the memory bank. When you're using a de-Googled device, and for those of you that are not familiar with what that is, it just means that this is not powered by Google. This is the base code of Android, which is an open source code. And you can get Google products to work on this because there's a compatibility layer that's added to it called Micro G. But it's not exactly the full experience as to say if you buy a Samsung or a Google Pixel device today and just plug and play out of the box. This requires a little bit more involvement from you in order to get this device working to your standards. But there will be some caveats, and I will highlight some of those things as I go along. But with the main specs of concern for me, we're going to be the display because what you're looking at the whole time, and the camera because you're going to be taking pictures and using those cameras. Let me talk about the OS first. The OS is IodeOS, which is based on Lineage and is running version 6.6 as I review this. Now this is running Android 15, which is better than what's originally listed on the Indiegogo page of Android 14. All right, let me speak about the caveats of the display because I do have some issues with it. Now, the lack of symmetry on the device is what bothers me. Yes, this is a pretty big display. It is a 6.56 HD plus display. It is an IPS display, not an AMOLED display, and I'll bring up why that matters to me in a moment. But when it comes to the forehead and chin, we do have a chin down here that I don't know if that's because we got a headphone jack at the bottom and need to make space for it, but it's just a little bit of an eyesore and does remind me of the Pixel 4 when it came out because that was one of the annoying things. But in the case of the Pixel 4, that's where they put a lot of the sensors. So I don't know if there are other sensors down here because it might explain why I still have issues with the auto brightness. So when it comes to the brightness of this device, it maxes out, I believe, at 980 nits, so not even 1,000. So while it might look bright a little bit here, washing out in the camera, you can't really see it as well when you're out in bright daylight because the sun just washes it out. So that's one of my main disappointments with the brightness of this display because it just makes it hard to read when you're on the outside. But also, this could be a software tweak. It's very aggressive in wanting to remaining dim. Even when I'm going into brighter environments, for some reason this device would dim even more. So I don't know if there could be sensors that are down here. I'm not going to do a jerry rig everything and tear this down, but I do hope that can be fixed with some kind of software patch because I do believe it can be fixed that way. That's what happened with the unplugged phone when I first got it. I haven't had those issues ever since with subsequent updates, so I'm hoping that repeats itself here with another update that could address the auto brightness because that has been a frustration point of mine in using this device. In my unboxing video, I made mention that mine came with the screen protector installed. I thought that was a privacy screen protector. For those that don't know what that is, it just means that it basically creates like a privacy shade where if you turn to the sides, you can't really see the text. Everything has to be more dead on center. Well, that's what I thought what the screen was that was installed on this device. So I peeled it off and I was surprised to see that it wasn't. It was a clear screen protector. So the viewing angles on the IPS is really difficult on the sides. So even when I brighten things up, it makes viewing angles not as comfortable because it just looks like it dims out on the sides, and the camera doesn't do it justice. But my screen does look dimmer on the sides of the phone. I have to be looking at it straight ahead to see basically all the details of what I'm engaging and interacting with. So I gotta dock points off on this, but I also am throwing this out there in case the team over at Brax3 is watching this. Is this how the display is supposed to look? Because if it's not, then I think I might have a bit of a limit when it comes to the display.
This is a microphone and speaker test of the most privacy-friendly device, the Brax3 phone.
So this is what the Brax3 sounds like at half volume, and I have the video on screen on YouTube at 100% brightness so you can try seeing it. But this is what the sound from the bottom firing speaker sounds like.
Hi folks, I'm Rob Braxman. You'll find me on YouTube where I'm known as the Internet Privacy Guy. And as that title suggests, I'm very focused on privacy for the common man. And unfortunately, the loss of privacy begins with the extraordinary attempts at tracking everything we do using a mobile phone.
Now this does not have stereo sound, it's just the bottom firing speaker down here, and you can hear the distortion at very loud volumes. There's some people that have had bigger complaints about their speakers. I don't know if that's the similar experience that I have and just they don't like the sound. The sound is very tiny is the best way to say it because it lacks bass, and that's kind of what I figured because of the price point that you are getting out of this. But there is the advantage of having a headphone jack. So there's two advantages to this phone. If you do not like the bottom firing speaker, you can use a headphone jack, which is a rarity nowadays, and you can also use 5.2 Bluetooth. Here are picture samples of the Brax3 camera that I've taken without any editing and using the default settings of the rare 50 megapixel shooter. Here is a video sample of me trying to keep the camera as steady as possible while walking. While there is no optical image stabilization, it relies on electronic image stabilization. These are the results. And these are comparison shots between the Brax3 and the iPhone 15 Pro. This device is right to repair ready. At least that was the promise made when they were launching this device. It was made with the intent to be able to replace parts and that you can be able to do it yourself, such as the back panel, such as the camera, maybe even the battery. Who knows, maybe even the display if you crack it. So if that is the case, then I do argue that there could be an upgrade option for the 50 megapixel camera, because could they sell a better sensor? I'm sure they can. And if they supply it and we pay for it, fantastic. We can install it ourselves and get it to work here, so long as it is made to work with the chipset that this MediaTek Dimensity processor powers. Now, with respects to the display, probably the same principles apply. What if we can upgrade this display? What if we can make it an AMOLED display? Or if we crack it, we can get a replacement. For me to provide a definitive conclusion on this device is really difficult because I know what this device is. If you're a normie, as they say, and you're trying to get a privacy-focused phone, now that there's more competition out there, odds are you're going to run into the same issues software-wise across all of them because you're not going to have the conveniences that are afforded to you when using an iPhone or a Samsung or a Google phone. So there's not much plug and play here as much as you got to learn to get involved to get things going. But there is a compatibility layer for how you're able to get certain things that depend on Google to run on this without so much of your data being sent to Google. But you still need to give it permissions in order for them to run, such as Android Auto and the suite of Google apps that are required to get Android Auto to work. So there always is that trade-off, and people always ask me, if you're getting that working, doesn't that defeat the purpose of why this phone exists? And my simple answer is yes, because it really comes down to your behavior with all of this. So for the normie that's looking for the plug and play, this might not be for you. But for those of you that are looking to try out something, but $1,000 for a privacy-focused phone sounds too expensive because there's plenty of those in the market, and there's a lot of choices on the budget side at the bargain bin that just have crappy specs altogether. The Brax3 device is definitely one of the best options for you to be able to get out there, despite some of the issues that you might run into this. The difference is that at least there's a support team that's actively trying to make things work right for you. That's why I'm leaving links to those forums for you to check out. And if you have an issue that someone else has run into, there hopefully should be a solution available to you, unless you do have a defective device, then that's a whole other story because the device has to be replaced. So let me know if you are a Brax3 owner, if you ran into any of those issues that were mentioned in the forums. If you have a defective device, did you get your device replaced? What was that experience like? Was it a painful process? Was it as pain-free as possible? I'm curious. Let people in the comment section know below so then they also see what the ownership experience is like, because for the team, they want this hardware to go long. It's not just, okay, this is the Brax3, next year we're focusing on the Brax4. That's not the case. The intention is to refine the experience. That's why I say that this phone can only get better, and that's what we're hoping to do. And it's a community effort because it takes all of us to basically find and report these things. It's not like there's an entire research and development team that is paid for by these large corporations that are made to find this and tweak them. As for myself, I do wish to have an option that is a lot more water resistant so I can have more confidence in taking this device in other places. But the right to repair function gives me a lot of peace of mind that I can hand this to my daughter, who I'm most concerned about because she's coming of age where she'll need a phone, and the internet is just not a place I really want her to be in. But I can't shelter her from reality. It's a connected world, but in venturing out into that world, I want to have some kind of peace of mind that there's some control over her privacy, over her data. And this is one of the best approaches that I've seen. And because kids break things, hopefully I can then repair should there be an accident. So I look forward to testing that out and letting you all know when the time comes. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this review of the Brax3 device. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the know. Follow me across the socials at the Segovia, on X_Segovia, and I'll see you on the next one.